And it's not turned like live. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Lady Sounds with Wonder Low. I am, of course, your host, Wonder Low. Just going to give you a couple of minutes, a couple of people to get signed on, maybe to come in and start watching the show. I appreciate you all for tuning in each week, every Tuesday at 7 p.m. to hear from me and my guest and to get some information. I hope that the information that we do share with you every week is something that you can use, that it educates you and empowers you, is encouraging you to live a better life. If you're looking at my screen right now, you can see those words, a few of them. And it says women, but we want to do the same thing for the men that are listening too. So I appreciate you all tuning in tonight. Let's see. I've been doing this for a little bit over 2 years. Another episode of the Ladies That's me and
you. That's me. I'm sorry.
Okay. A little bit over 2 years, and honestly, every show I'm still nervous. I'm still kind of a little bit shaky when I get on, and then I get into the groove of this thing, and we go ahead and push through. Hoping that quite a few people will tune in tonight. I know that everybody's probably watching the Democrat National Convention on TV tonight, and you want to hear the speakers, you want to get motivated, and I want you to keep that same energy now. The same energy you feel tonight watching the DNC. I want you to keep that same energy all the way through November, all the way to the polls, so we can make a difference. Either way it goes, we're going to make history this year, so be prepared to do that. All right, I'm going to give you just a couple of PSAs before we actually get started. And yes, I'm going to read off my sheet. And yes, I got to put my glasses on, even though I print these words pretty big. But I want to give you this information just in case you don't know about a few deadlines that are coming up that we might want to keep in mind. Now, of course, we all know that November 3rd, 2020 is going to be the Arkansas general election, our general election for president. So early voting in Arkansas starts October 19th through November 2nd. Let's see. Voter registration deadline. So if you have not voted to register already, you have to have the registration application postmarked no later than Monday, October the 5th. If you're going to do it in person, it has to be received, again, no later than Monday, October 5th. Now, the deadline to request an absentee ballot is going to be by email is Tuesday, October 27th. And the deadline to return completed absentee ballot is in person. That has to be received by Monday, November 2nd. So make sure you keep those times and those deadlines in mind when you're registering to vote. If you have not already, you can also register online to vote and find your polling place at www.vote.org. You can get information on election deadlines again at rocksandvote.org. You can also go to the Secretary of State of Arkansas to find election, voter information, voter registration information, everything. So that way you make sure that you get whatever paperwork you need before the deadline and that you are eligible and you are ready and registered to vote come November 3rd. We want to make sure, if we don't do anything else, we want to make sure that we get out and we get to the polls this year and that we vote. I refuse to tell anybody how to vote because I refuse to have anybody tell me how to. But go vote. Go vote. Folks died and fought for our right to be able to do this. And if for no other reason than that, get up, get out, and go vote. Now, that's my whole big PSA for tonight. I'm not going to preach about it anymore. I'm not going to bring it up anymore. I told y'all where to go, and I told you what to do. That's what I'm going to say. Now, look, I told you where to go, and I told you what to do. I'm done.
Yep.
Now it's on you. So before I get to my guest tonight, because I'm excited to hear from her, and I know you all are going to be excited to hear from her also, I want to make sure that I just say thank you again, but also put in a really quick plug for the show. Like I said, I've been doing this for a little bit over 2 years. I've enjoyed it. I was doing radio first, and then I decided to do online. I just want you to keep supporting. All those folks that tune in each week, you have to know I appreciate you immensely. But I want you to continue to support. So I'll give you a couple of ways that you can support the show and you can support me. Watch it. Tuesday nights at 7, or actually watch the show. Make comments during the show. There's a place over to the side of the screen. If you see it, you make comments on this video just like you can on any other live video. We air every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Central Time. We're always on Facebook, and I also have a YouTube channel. So the next thing I'm going to tell you is to go out to YouTube and subscribe to the channel. Now, let me be real clear. It ain't fancy. You big, but I need subscribers. And I'd like for you all, if you miss it on Facebook, you can always go back to my page and watch it. But I also want you to be a subscriber on the YouTube channel. I'm also on Instagram. So like our post on Instagram, share our post, do the same thing for anything that you see on our page. And you can always find me on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram at the Ladies Lounge Wonder Love. Just all one word. And the other part about that is make sure you're doing it as a hashtag. I'm trying to get to 1,000 hashtags with the Ladies Lounge Wonder Love. So if you can, do that for me. And the other part is, and the last thing I want you to do is go into my page on Facebook and to our page on Instagram and share those pages with your friends and families and tell them, hey, this lady is doing what she can do and she's doing the best she can do. But go out and watch the videos, share the videos, comment. Please be positive in your comments. I hate to block folks, but my block game is strong. So let me just put it out front. My block game is real strong. So make sure your comments are positive. If you have ideas for shows that you want to see or topics that I have not covered or something that you feel like would be a really great topic, please inbox me at the Latest Lounge Wonderlove. It's the Latest Lounge 1050 at gmail.com. You can email me or you can go to the page and post it on the page somewhere. So that was a mouthful. But y'all got to just say what I was trying to say. So now let's get to this show because I'm one of these people that's going to need what this lady's going to say. And I think that everything that she's going to talk about tonight is going to be beneficial to us all. So let's think about it. Everybody, and I mean everybody that you've ever met has a story. And a lot of those stories are worth telling. Now, that doesn't mean that there are some that are not, because anybody can tell and share their personal experiences, their life, anything they're going through, and it'll always help somebody else. But how do we get it on paper? You know, a lot of people have 15 books in their head. You've experienced enough stuff in your lifetime that you have plenty of books in your head, but how did you now get those books to your paper? So you have your phone on?
Do you have my phone on? Let me see.
It might be it's giving feedback because I can hear it.
Okay.
Turn the volume down real low.
Okay.
Okay. Now, so anybody, you have these things in your head and you need to get them on paper. So tonight, I want you to go now and get your pencil and your paper so you can take some notes. Hopefully, we'll be able to kind of chat and put some things in the comments to give you some ideas on how to get all those thoughts that are in your head onto this paper. So my guest tonight is a young lady by the name of Renetta Gunn-Stevens. And I'm going to read you a little bit of her bio, and it's also posted on the page if you want to go and read it, read all of it. But Renetta Gunn-Stevens is the CEO of Sophisticated Press, LLC. And she knew at an early age that she was a trailblazer, motivational speaker, and an activation specialist. I love activation specialists. After many successful collaborations with family, friends, and cohorts that resulted in professional advancement, she decided to join the world of entrepreneurship. Much like most of the folks probably listening. Started off as a published memorial for her birthday, ended in a God-ordained profession of publishing. She is now a global ghostwriter, author, publisher of mass variety of self-published books in the marketplace. Renetta founded Sophisticated Press Author Academy, which is federally trademarked under Sophisticated Press to assist fledgling authors with their process of introducing their manuscript into the literary community. Welcome, Miss. Now, what I want to call you? Can I call you just Renetta?
Yep, just call me Renetta.
I'll mess up the hyphen in a minute.
Yes.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you coming on tonight. We are dying to hear from you. So let's just tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Hi, thank you so much, Wonder, for the opportunity to come on your show and share with your audience. My name is Renetta Gunn-Stevens. As Miss Wonder just stated, that I'm the CEO of Sophisticated Press, and I'm also the author of 4 books, Kingdom Speaking in the Boardroom, 10 Ways to Eliminate Debt by Writing, Adass, Redemption, and Push. And I'm also the founder of Sophisticated Press Author Academy, which is an online academy that teaches writers the self-publishing process.
All right. Now, I know that you said in your bio that you knew as a young kid that you wanted to do this. Talk about some of the experiences that you had that led to it, though.
Yeah, so when I was younger, I wrote poetry, but I never had like a desire to be a publisher.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't have a clue about that. That was something that never was in my journal, never on my to-do list, but I did write a lot. And so I would always tell people that I'm going to be a published author. And
Mm-hmm.
I had always would start the process, but would never finish it. I would go from job to job and tell people like I'm an author, and they'll say, "Well, where's your book?" And I'll be like, "Oh, I don't have it yet, but I'm an author. I'm gonna get it right." So
Working on it.
right, it's coming, but it never came. And so I was turning 40, and I was like, if I keep this book in this notebook and on this USB another day, I'm just gonna feel like a fraud, and I can't be a fraud out here in these streets, right? So I began saying, this is going to be my birthday gift to myself. I'm going to publish a book. And so I began to go back to the publishing houses that I had originally investigated. And for some reason, they wouldn't take my money, whether the customer service rep was nasty or whether I just didn't like their pricing. And so I went back to God because I am a praying woman. And I said, Lord, I don't know what's going on. I'm trying to get this book out for my 40th birthday, and nobody is taking my money. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's when God told me, well, that's because I want you to be a publisher. And I
Wow.
was like, you're talking to Renetta, right, God? Because we just think God don't know who He's talking to when He tell us to do things that we never knew that we could do. And He
Mm-hmm.
was like, absolutely. And I was like, well, how am I going to become a publisher? And He was like, I'm going to teach you.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just began to turn off the TV, turn off the radio, and I literally just would spend time with God, and He literally trained me. I am Holy Ghost trained. I know that sounds real religious, you all, but I did not go to school to become a publisher.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I do have a degree, but it's not in communications and writing. But I literally was trained how to just serve the people that God has assigned me to serve. And so that's how I became a publisher.
Wow. Now, see, that's a book by itself.
It
Yeah,
really is.
that's a book by itself. Because going back to what you said about God calling you to be a publisher, you are right. A lot of times we're called to do things and we doubt ourselves, but God has already put whatever He needed for us to have in order to do those things inside of us. It just takes us having sometimes a little bit of shaking, a little bit of pushing for those things to pop out. So I'm glad that you were obedient, because the other part of it is you have to be obedient to what God says to you and what He calls you to be able to do. Okay.
Yes.
Well, talk a
Yes.
little bit about that. You said you got one book that's what, writing to get rid of debt. Because anything about debt, I'm all for it. About getting rid of debt, I'm all for it. So talk a little bit about what made you write that book.
Well, what made me write that book is, and it's an ebook. It's a quick read, but literally, writing helped me to eliminate debt. You are speaking to a female who been working since she was 15 years old. And so I've been in corporate. I've had every type of job that you can imagine. But it wasn't until I began using my gift of writing that I was able to leave corporate and never look back again. And
Okay.
so I wanted to share the many ways that's available in the marketplace that writers are needed.
Mm-hmm.
Writers are needed in every type of business. They're going to need a writer. And so in this ebook, I just share some tips on how you can become a writer and eliminate your debt. And even if you keep your 9 to 5, because I'm not one of those entrepreneurs that try to tell people to just leave their 9 to 5, writing is definitely a great and easy way to add additional streams of income.
Hmm. And that's interesting. You have a lot of people who are interested in writing, and I guess they get started and they do like you did. It's on the USB or it's in the tablet and it's tucked away, and you have like 17 journals that you've written over the years. What made you, what, I know you said God called, but what are the other things that you had to put in place to make sure that you wrote as often as you should, or how did you start writing?
Yeah, well, it started off in grammar school when you're like a little boy, right? And you you say, "Do you like me? Yes or no?" Something like that. And I just started writing poems about boys. It's just how I
Mhm.
started knowing that I knew how to write poetry. But present day, I realized that just as an author and also a publisher, writing is just like a muscle. You
Mhm.
have to write in order for it to get stronger, but you also have to read as well, because the more you read, the better writer you'll become. And
Okay.
so, with anything, you just have to have a reason why you're dedicated to something. So we do have a lot of writers that we'll come in contact with, and they'll say they have writer's block. And at that time, I told them, if you're having writer's block, maybe you're writing about the wrong thing, or maybe you are not prioritizing it enough and putting it on your calendar. Because if it's not on your calendar, it's probably not that important to you.
Mhm.
And then the second thing is, maybe you're trying to be a perfectionist, right? And you're trying to make it perfect, make it perfect, and that's stopping the process. And so one of the reasons why I asked God, because normally in my clients will tell you, I do wear my glasses, but I never wear a sweatsuit. So I was
Mhm.
like, Lord, you got me wearing my Adidas today. Why I'm looking so casual? And it's because so many people, they want to be perfect. They want to look just perfect. They want to just be so put together. And we are too serious. We're putting too much into it. And so I just come to tell you today that present sometimes is better than perfect. And sometimes you have to do it ugly. But when you do it ugly, that's going to be a measurement that you leave in the earth for you to the earth, I'm sorry, that you leave in the earth, that you can then measure your progress, and your niche market will appreciate growing with you. So
Mhm.
sometimes imperfect is the new perfect. Your niche want to be able to relate to you and approach you, and if you wait until you're perfect, then they'll think that they can't have a relationship with you. So that's what I like about with me and Sophisticated Press, with my company. We are accessible, and we're approachable, and we help people to see that just because I'm a publisher, I'm no better than you. I'm simply just a human being, as you said, that said yes to God and just was obedient.
Well, you have an amen in the comments. Uh-oh, I'm feedback again.
Yeah, I don't have the phone on anymore. I'm
Hold on.
sorry.
Is the computer up?
Yeah, let me turn it down the volume a little bit.
Yeah, bring the volume down, and that'll keep it. That way you won't hear me twice. Now I say you have an amen corner in the comments over here. Because one of the things that you said, and that present is sometimes better than perfect. I think I did that on a T-shirt, because that is, man, that's a lot of problem, I think, with women in general. When we do something, we've always been taught that it has to be done right. We have to do it perfect. We got to look good while we're doing it. Don't break a sweat. It has to look good. And that's where we get stuck. And I'll be honest, I'm a perfectionist and I have issues. Look, my name is Wanda. I'm a perfectionist. I have issues. Because that's part of the problem. Is that
Yeah,
I have to proofread it and I have to make it perfect and I have to write the sentence and I'll write it. I might stay on the paragraph for 3 or 4 hours, which I don't have
yeah,
to do. So I think a lot of people, when they're trying to write, especially when we hadn't been trained, when we
yeah,
haven't been trained, but we know that we have a story inside of us and we're trying to get those things out. A lot of people get stuck in that perfection mode. And I say
yeah.
people, but I'm going to say women. We get stuck in that perfection mode.
Mm-hmm.
And so, what are some of the things that, and you just named a couple, what are some of the things that we need to do to kind of get past? I won't say get past perfection mode because I think some of them might be stuck in. I think I'm stuck in.
Yeah,
But what
let's
are
talk
some of
about
the
that.
things, yeah, let's talk about what are some of the things that we can do to get past that perfection mode.
Absolutely. The first thing I always tell clients is, do not edit and write at the same time.
Ooh,
So
amen.
just write. Don't worry about, should I put a comma here, a semicolon. Write bad and hire an editor to make it good.
There you go.
Write bad and hire an editor to make it good. And so if you just write, don't worry about capitalizing the I. Just write it and get it out. The second thing is, don't let the influence of others prohibit your creativity. A
Mhm.
lot of times we want to tell our stories. We're like, well, what my mama gonna say if she read this, or what the saints gonna say if they read this, right? And
Yeah.
so we end up watering down our story because we don't want people to be offended by our truth. But the truth of the matter is, you got to tell your story, because if you don't, somebody's going to try to take that job for you and tell your story, and they're going to get it wrong. And we've seen that all the time when celebrities pass and they go and make a VH1, show on them, and then the family's like, that's not how it happened. And that's why it's so important to tell your story. If you don't have a story, share your expertise or your genius, but just make sure that it's your side and your version of it, so that way people know your legacy.
Mm-hmm. Now, Trista Robinson is commenting. She says, "I want it to flow like how it sounds in my head." Yes,
Yeah,
and that's
yeah,
part of the perfection thing, is that you thinking of it. It's like you're telling yourself the story, but you're trying to also write it down. But
yeah.
what you're hearing and what you're writing doesn't quite match up some. So I have that same issue, is that I'll write it, and again, I'm editing and doing everything else instead of just free flowing like we should be. But yeah,
Yeah.
that
Well,
that
and in that situation, what I tell people too is to voice record. So sometimes I'll tell authors, just close your eyes, turn on your voice recorder, and whatever you see, say it. Whatever the characters are saying, say it. Because I do like writing fiction as well. And so there's times where literally the characters speak to you and they're talking, you're hearing the story. And so if it's too much going on where you can't really hear the characters and write at the same time, then just repeat what you hear or what you see in your imagination and put it on a voice recorder, and then come back and try transcribe it in your on your laptop.
that makes perfect sense. That makes perfect sense. Because I think that sometimes you either write faster than what you're thinking, or you don't write fast enough for what you're thinking. So
Mm-hmm.
it makes perfect sense. One of the things that you hit on too was also watering down your story.
Yeah.
I've talked to a couple of folks over the years, and everybody, well, I won't say everybody, but most women, I've talked to several women who've had a story of abuse. And it
Yes.
might be different kinds, and it might have been sexual, it might have been emotional, whatever the case is. And they
Mm-hmm.
won't tell their stories because they know as well as I do that if you just tell it, it's going to help somebody. But they're afraid to tell it because, well, what if mama sees it? What if daddy sees it? What if great whatever? And I mean, a lot of times that stops people in their tracks also, because nobody wants to embarrass their family.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't want to out their families for different things. So
Yeah.
they tell the story.
Mm-hmm.
I had a friend who wrote a book, it's been some years ago now, who named names. And I knew of her before I actually got to meet her. And I was
Mm-hmm.
standing in the library one day and I heard this really juicy conversation about
Mm-hmm.
the book. And I'm like, I got to read this book. Now, I don't
Right.
know any of the people in the book. At the time, I didn't. But the storyline, just what
Yeah.
they were seeing, and because this was a real person and they knew these people. Because when it happened, the abuse happened, she named names and she just said, hey, here's what happened to me. And
Yeah.
write it no matter what. And it turned out to be a very, very good book. And I look
Mm-hmm.
at it now as how many women or men picked up that book and read it, and how many people got released from whatever was holding them back because they were able to read her words. So,
Yeah.
even if it sounds like it's going to hurt somebody, sometimes you still just need to say it.
Absolutely. And I'm so glad that you mentioned that, because we talk to a lot of authors who want to tell their stories of abuse. And this is what I always tell them. Make sure first that you're over it and you're kind of healed from it, because there's been some times where people will call in doing their author consultation. They just want to talk about it. And once
Mm-hmm.
they talk about it, they're good. So it's like, is this therapy?
Mm-hmm.
Or are you telling this story to help someone else that's going through it? I've had family members call and threaten me because they knew that my authors, were going to put things in their books.
Mm-hmm.
But the truth of the matter is, you can't be mad of my truth. And if you abusing me, it's my truth, and I have to tell my truth. There are ways that you can do it with integrity. There are ways that you don't have to name it. You can make it a fiction book, or you can, just make it your life story, the truth. But there are ways, and I would just say, if there is any abuse that you want to tell, if it's not outside of the statute of limitations, then you may want to also just pursue it with the law office too, because it can get nasty when you do tell your story and you do have to name names. So I always tell people, if you can, don't name them specifically, especially if you don't have any proof and you haven't went to the law with it. just in case, they won't, try to sue you for slander and
Mhm.
things like that. But if you want to tell your story and it does involves abuse, you should tell it, because that's your testimony. And someone out there need to know that there is life after abuse.
Amen. Amen. All right. Well, let's kind of, I'm going to switch gears slightly. It's not a whole lot. But right now, we're in the house more than ever.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not working from home, and I tell you, that's going to be a whole other show on itself, this working from home stuff.
Yeah.
Man, it's
Yeah.
stressful because you for some reason you lose your cutoff times and you don't know when to separate stuff. But anyway, like I
Mm-hmm.
said, it's a whole other show by itself. But while we're at home right now, I'm pretty sure that there's somebody either watching or that'll watch this later on that'll need some tips on what to do to get started. And now let's hit on this one, because this is the other thing. I had a person say, well, I gotta go and buy this book and buy some pens and I gotta have all this stuff to start writing. I'm going, where and why?
Right.
You just use a pencil and a regular tablet. But talk
Yeah.
about what stuff do you have a certain thing that you surround yourself with? Do you have music, or do you have, what's your background? How do you get yourself, I guess, in the mood to start writing?
Yeah, I like that question because environment matters.
Mm-hmm.
Environment matters. And so you do have to kind of find out and create an environment for writing. Now, for some, it's different. Some people, they're better writing in a cafe. Some people are better writing, in a cozy corner. You kind of have to test it out and see what area or what place that I'm not falling asleep in. You have to decide. Am I a morning writer? Am I a nighttime writer? Right? Am I a middle of the night writer? So all of those are just going to come with trial and error. But once you locate that space, then you want to definitely make sure that you take note of that, and that's your writing environment. So for me, I love smells. So there are certain things that I like. So I have a diffuser, and I'll put natural essential oils in the diffuser. I'm sorry. I have perfume that I like, a certain type of perfume. Um, don't really like music because I like silence so I can hear the whisper of God, and so I can hear the characters if I'm writing fiction. So I really don't like outside noise. And I also can write in my home. But there are times where if you are a mother and you have kids and you have a husband or a significant other and they're not respecting your writing time, then you may have to leave the house and go into the car. And also, it's important, if you are going to arrange writing times, let your family and friends know so that way they can respect your writing time. So just say, hey, on Tuesdays at, same way like with your show, on Tuesdays at 7, that's my show, don't call me. So then you can tell your friends and family members, on Wednesdays at 8 o'clock, this is my writing time. I'm about to publish a book. Please don't call me for 30 minutes because I'm going to be writing during that time. And that way, you're letting everyone know that you're really serious about it, and you're
Mm-hmm.
also letting your brain know I'm serious about this.
Mm-hmm. That makes perfect sense. The time management piece, like someone mentioned in the comments, the time management piece is the biggest part of it. Because I think, again, going back to us working from home right now,
Yeah.
cutting off work time and
Mm-hmm.
giving yourself time to put that, block out some time on your calendar. Say, like you said, from 7 to 8, I'm going to write, or for 30 minutes, I'm going to write.
Mm-hmm.
I had one of those nights before where the story was coming really fast in my head, and I may have done a whole chapter, and it may have only taken me 30 minutes because I type really fast. But
Yeah.
there are times when I sit down and I look at the paper, and the paper's looking at me, and then I just leave the paper and go do something else because I absolutely cannot think of anything to put on the paper. So creating an environment that's conducive to your writing. I'm a background noise kind of person.
Mm-hmm.
Silence drives me crazy. So even if
Mm-hmm.
I don't hear anything but just the TV is humming, or I have
Mm-hmm.
something playing really low, I concentrate better that way. So,
Mm-hmm.
but that's everything. It's like you said, creating that environment and putting yourself in a place to where, okay, now I'm going to settle down and now I'm going to write. Now,
Yeah.
technical questions.
Yeah.
Everybody, if you're writing, especially if you're doing it on a laptop, everybody's got Word or something and it has a little book thing on there. Is that good to use, or do you need to just free write? Just write what you want to write. Because it's kind of like a little template on there, I guess you could say.
You can definitely use it, but most online platforms, they're going to want it formatted a certain way. So it's
Mm-hmm.
still going to have to get reformatted. But if you just need it for structure, then that's good that you can use it. But however you do your table of contents and the chapters, it still has to be formatted by a professional.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's just good for structure. But we really, like for me, I give my clients a generic template just
Mm-hmm.
for them to get the content on the template, and then we format it for them.
Okay. Okay. Now, I want you, I think when we talked the other day, you have some kind of special, you have something that you're doing right now that you're working with people while they're in the pandemic to write. So
Yeah.
talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have, it's called the Publishing During the Pandemic Publishing Package. And it's so important, this package, because crisis, we're in the middle of a crisis, we're in the middle of a pandemic, but crisis can either cripple you or bring the creative genius out of you.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so most successful people, unfortunately, they didn't become successful until something traumatic happened. In fact, even with myself, I haven't been released yet to tell the story, but there is another side about when I was turning 40, something traumatic happened to me. But that's when I had to either be crippled or that was when God caught my attention. And so, due to the fact that we're in the middle of this pandemic and some people have lost their jobs, some people have gotten sick, loved ones have passed, and they haven't been able to say the proper goodbyes, we can either be crippled by this pandemic or we can produce under pressure.
Mm-hmm.
I choose to produce under pressure and help others produce under pressure too. And even if you still have your 9 to 5, when things go back to normal, if they ever go back to normal, or even if they stay remote, the more you accomplish, the better you stand out from your cohorts, the better you become more qualified for when they do have to downsize. Now they'll keep you. And
Mm-hmm.
so when I was working in corporate and I wanted to publish my book when I was 40, I actually published my book while I was working. And I tell how I took my book into the office of the director, and she said, "You wrote this book?" I said, "Yeah." She said, "This is amazing." And out of 300 employees, no one had written a book out of those 300 employees. So what it showed my director was that I had time management skills, that I had organization skills, that I had project management skills, that I had leadership skills. And
Mm-hmm.
immediately she put me on the stretch assignments, right? And so this is the benefits of just writing a book. It just
Mm-hmm.
makes you rare and it makes you more qualified as an expert in whatever you're sharing. And so with this program, we're actually going to include coaching with it for a year, but you're going to be able to publish your book in the middle of a pandemic and create additional streams of income. So whether your job hire you back or not, your book is going to make money for you because we believe here at Sophisticated Press that every business should have a book and every book is a business. And when you become a published author, you're actually becoming an entrepreneur.
Woo. That is a lot. That's exciting. That is
Yes.
a lot. And I know that you're going to have some people that are going to be excited to get started on their journey just to get to, like you said, to produce under pressure during the pandemic. That's going to
Yes.
be such an amazing thing. And you know what? I think about what kind of stories are going to come out of all of this. Because now
Yeah.
that you have time to sit and kind of think, and you either thinking about childhood or you're thinking about the present stuff that's happening, just to write
Yeah.
us living through this type of pandemic in our time, in our age time, and our when we're living, that's a whole nother, man, that's thousands of stories just right there. So that's
Yeah.
an amazing, amazing thing, that people are
Yeah.
writing books during this time.
Absolutely. And we need to leave, again, our side of the story. If we let other people tell the side of the story, we're the ones who are most in risk of getting it, right? And then some people will look at us as, we're dirty or we're nasty or we're contaminated, right? And I've been in the store sometimes and people will go out the other way if they see me. And it's like, but that's because people are telling their version of what's
Mm-hmm.
going on in the pandemic. And we
Mm-hmm.
really do need to leave our history of how we're feeling, what we're going through, how our children are missing their proms and graduations. And, yes, it's the news job to do that, but it's also our job too to tell our story and share our culture experience. And so with this program, what's exciting about it is it's affordable and it's accessible. We have a payment plan attached to it. It's $99 to start. And so that's what our clients appreciate the most is they don't have to come up with a big bulk of money to begin pursuing their dream of becoming a published author. They can pay $99 to start, and then we have monthly payments of $200. And that's what's been the most successful for our clients because it just helps them to become successful on a budget, and that's totally okay.
That is.
Yeah.
Budget is so. I know that
Yeah.
the fact that you said budget is going to get some people's attention. But yeah, that's great. I'm thinking about like ahead of time, like next year this time when things are back to whatever our new normal is going to be.
Hmm.
How many published authors there'll be? How many people will have gotten through your program? How many people will have just gotten past writing out maybe that whole notebook and telling some parts of that story? So that is
Yeah.
going to be an amazing. You're going to have a literary boom because you're going to
Yeah.
have these people coming out with all these different books. And each
Well,
one is unique to itself.
yeah, let me just get this link too. I'm going to get it really quick and put it in the comments. Well, that's literally what we need, to be honest, because let me go back down here now. I got to bring back my camera. Okay, here we go. That's literally what we need because what I'm seeing is a big boom in children's books.
Mm-hmm.
And we need that. And the reason why we need that is because there's only a 3% representation of minorities in books, right? And so children are able to see a toy or an animal before they see themselves. African American children, Mexican children, Indian children. And so what I appreciate is so many people is contacting us to take advantage of this program to do their children book. And with the children being home, with the children being at home now doing remote learning, this is the time now where they're going to need books. And how great would it be if they could see themselves in books? We have parents who are doing books after their own children, and the confidence level that their parents are seeing in their children because they're the characters, it's just making them grow up in a world where they really can believe that they matter and they are included in the American dream.
Wow. And see, I hadn't even thought about it from that point, but that is awesome. Because you think about how, oh my goodness, that would be just the most amazing thing. Mom and dad will write a book about you, and then other
Right.
kids read about you and how you live and what you think and who you are. That would
Yeah.
be really amazing for any kid. So that is a really great idea. So, like I
Yes.
said, by this time next year, we're going to see this huge literary boom because you're going to have so many people that are encouraged to write. And I
Yes.
think the other side of it is we said this touched on it just a little bit earlier about it being cathartic. It's therapeutic. If you are
Yes.
through some things, or if you are, and I started off with journals, writing in journals years ago. And before you know it, it's very easy to fill up about 10 of those jokers. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So just going back, and if people are going, well, I don't write, or I don't know what to write, I can't think of anything, pull those old journals out.
There you go.
A lot of the
Yeah.
stuff you wrote is what you need to maybe be sharing with somebody else. Now, like you said, make sure you're at a good spot before you do it because you don't want to, bring something up that's going to hurt you all over again. But at the same
Yeah.
time, somebody's going to read your words and their life is going to be changed. It's going to be made better. That's going to open them up to maybe expressing what they're going through. And like for right now, depression is high, suicide is high. It's so many things
Yeah.
going on during this pandemic that maybe we all should be writing a book.
Absolutely.
Book therapy. Everybody needs to write a book. Even if I want you to get it published because like you said, if it's going to help you get out of debt and it's another stream of income, let's go get that. But if
Yes.
anything else, just get it out your system. Just
Yeah.
get it out your system.
Absolutely. And the good thing about self-publishing, just for those who may not know between traditional publishing and self-publishing really, you all, is about empowerment and ownership. I know a lot of people, they want that book advance from a major publishing organization. But the truth of the matter is, a lot of the executives do not understand our culture. And
Mhm.
so when you submit your manuscript, they're turning it down. And even if they do give you a book advance, then you really lose creative control because they put their money up and they're going to have creative control. And so what I like about self-publishing is you own 100% of your intellectual property. You are the person who makes the final decision. And so that's why when you self-publish a book, you become more confident because you're learning all of these new skills. You're learning sales, you're learning wholesale pricing, markups. You're just learning how to produce your own talent and manage your own gifts, because for so long we have been trained to help everybody else achieve their dream, and we keep looking for validation in everyone else. But self-publishing is kind of like a testament of you saying, I'm worth it, I'm going to put my money and bet on me. And normally when you do that, you are going to get a return of investment if you bet on yourself.
That is, well, see, and that to me is just another 1,000 reasons of why we should be all writing books, because
Yeah.
it is a way for us to get out there and invest in ourselves, and maybe the book that keeps on giving, because if you can get that first one out, then may encourage you to write the second book, or may
Oh,
encourage you to write the third. I've been following our mutual friend Latanya, and Latanya is like a book machine or something.
yes. We love Latanya.
Every other week she's like, I got a book. I'm like,
Yes.
so she's one of those folks that I've been watching. And look, I told her I'm gonna be like her when I grow up. I'm gonna write a book too. And I have about 6 that I've started, so I need to finish at least one of them.
Oh, absolutely. We got to get it finished. But what I love about Latanya is the same thing, you all, when she wanted to publish a book for her birthday.
Mm-hmm.
And she came to Sophisticated Press in May. Now, mind you, her birthday is July 24th. I'll never forget it because that was the first client who was like, I need my book published in 60 days. But
Wow.
Latanya came and published a book in 60 days. That was last year. And then this year, the same thing, she was able to publish the book for her birthday. And so I would just say too, that's a great strategy that Latanya is using. She's attaching an important date the same way I did. It's my birthday. By my birthday, I'm going to have this done. By Christmas, I'm going to have this done. Attach a date to your goal, because if you don't attach a date to your goal, then you really not putting the urgency on that, on your actions. But when you attach a date and you get an accountability partner, now the pressure is on for you to produce. And I'm telling you, I know that sometimes we don't like pressure and sometimes we try to pray away the pressure, but the pressure is what releases the creativity. And so don't run away from the pressure. Yes, you're going to have to pay. Yes, you may have to maybe not drink Starbucks for every day. You may not be able to eat out for lunch, but if you invest in this package, I guarantee you, people will support you, and not just your family. We just picked up our first client in Bermuda. Now,
Wow.
I don't even know where Bermuda is at, Wonder. But what I do know is we're servicing people in Bermuda, and that's what it's all about. You know, the world is waiting to hear your story. The world is waiting to hear your expertise and learn from you. So if you're an expert at something, just take your expertise to another level and put it in the book so that others can learn from you.
That's it in a nutshell. And you know
Yeah.
that you've been preaching, right? Sermon right there. But I admired that. I admire the fact that she has those deadlines and she's been able to meet them and then beat them, honestly. Because
Yeah.
publishing in 60 days, you had to really get down and really do some hard work to do that. So that's going to be, I mean, I look for anything that she's going to do to be amazing. I look for anybody that's taking the
Yeah.
time and putting in the not just the effort and the time, but the money and all of the
Yeah.
research and everything else just to get those books done, because that I'm impressed. I'm always impressed.
Yeah.
And I have
Yeah.
several folks from a small town in Arkansas, where there's several of my people I went to school with or friends. They publish books, and I'm going, I got to do something.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I have
Yeah.
65
Absolutely.
that I'm doing, so I got to start weeding out some stuff, and make
Yeah.
sure get it done. But I'm impressed with anybody who can sit down and really focus well enough to even get that done, because I imagine it takes a lot to focus. It takes a lot to kind of push out all of the things that are going on right now and then concentrate on just producing that book. So I am excited. I think that a lot of folks are going to be interested in your package, and that you're going to get more business. I mean, folks are just it's coming, because right now it's like right now is the time for any and everything that you want to do. If you're interested in becoming an entrepreneur, if you have an online
Yeah.
business, you want to write a book, right now is the time to get all those things out of your system and get them done. And I think part of my thing is fighting with my list of to do things. So
Mm-hmm.
I have to work on narrowing down my list of to do things. But we have about 15 minutes to go. So the next couple of minutes, if you will, just kind of give whatever tips that you would give to somebody, and you've given a lot of them tonight, but just tips that you would give to somebody who's just right at the edge. They have the idea, they've got the concept, but they have not put a word on the paper yet.
Yeah. So if they have not put a word on the paper,
Mm-hmm.
so if you have not put a word on the paper, I would just definitely first find out what your superpower is. We talk about that in our book, Push, Promote, into Shipping and Handling Happens, where you just have to find out what your superpower is and what you're good at. And you have to decide what genre you want to enter in, because you don't have to, everybody don't have to have the same type of book. Right? Some people may just make the best macaroni and cheese, so
Mm-hmm.
make a cookbook. Share Big Mama recipes, right? Someone may have a nice love story. Someone may have a how-to book. It's okay. You don't have to be a carbon copy of anyone. Just find out what's your superpower and put it in a book. If someone contacts you all the time because you know how to save money on budgets, you can write a simple book on budgeting for moms, budgeting for married wives, married women. It doesn't matter. But if you want to write a book, you do have to know what you want to write about. And I would just say start off with writing about your superpower, because that's what's going to make it easy. You
Mm-hmm.
don't want to reinvent the wheel. You just want to make it easy on yourself and write about what you know, and that'll help the writer's block from not coming. We talked about that earlier. Also, even if you don't want to write a book, shout out to my clients that are investing in their children.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we just need to be the investor in our children, because my youngest client here at Sophisticated Press is 7 years old.
Oh,
And
wow.
so, and we have a 16-year-old out of Arizona. And so this is what I'm saying. Like, I'm really happy for the parents that's saying, yeah, I know I need to write a book, but let me invest in my children too. And so they are literally investing in their children, and they're helping their children to write books. And so I would just say, if right now you don't want to write a book, don't force it, right? But if you do know that you are supposed to write a book, quiet yourself down, see what it is you want to write a book, and answer the question on why you want to write a book. So let me get the book Push really quick, because we have in Push we talks about asking yourself how to find your superpower, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we give the analogy that if you put a fish in the wrong environment, that fish is going to look really silly and frantic and, shaking everywhere. But if you put him in water, that fish instantly becomes a genius. Nobody taught that fish how to swim. It
Mm-hmm.
was in their DNA to survive underwater and to soar in water. So how do you find your superpower? And this is page 5 of Push. What was your hobby as a child? Who did you want to become before you grew up and responsibilities changed your mind? What subject do you have a massive accumulation of knowledge of? What skills can you do effortlessly that others struggle with? Right? These are simple things that you can find, how you can find your superpower. How do you amaze people? When people give you compliments, what is it about? Is
Mm-hmm.
it about your dress code? Is it about how you was able to critically solve a problem? Do they call you just to always do the technical things? And then what field of environment are you fearless in? So like for me, I've always been I love to talk. And so some people get nervous with public speaking. It's one of the number one fears of the world. But we have this in common too, me and Latanya. I'm a Toastmaster, right? And so Toastmaster helped me to cultivate my speaking skills. So that's something that I'm fearless doing. I can speak very well. And so once you find out what you're good at, you just dominate in that area. Don't try to be like, if the fish tried to dominate walking on land, the fish will not dominate. But in the water, no one can touch the fish. The fish, because it found its environment. And so once you found your environment, now if a fish could write, now we know a fish can't, but if it could, it should write a book on how to dominate underwater.
Yeah.
And so, and you see how if that fish wanted to talk about dominate underwater, they wouldn't get writer's block because they know that from the back of their hand. So that's why it's good to find your superpower, and what you're good in. When you writing about it, it's just like you're talking to somebody, teaching them, and that's your manuscript. You're just talking about your superpower and teaching others that want to get better in that field that you're already a dominator in.
That's the thing. And that was a mouthful. But that's also a way to give us a good start. You have people that might be listening and watching later on, like I said, and they're kind of like, okay, I know I want to write, but how do I write? What do I write? And I think that might be the biggest problem, is that folks know they want to write, but don't have what to write about. So those were very good tips on how to figure out what topics we should stick to. And of course, with anything, stick to what you know. I mean,
Yeah, that's it.
That's it. I don't know nothing about that. But yeah, what you know. I wanted to ask real quick: is anybody watching? Do you all have any questions? I'm trying to type it as I write it, so hold just a second. Y'all have any questions for Miss Renetta tonight? So if you do, go ahead and post it, and I will. Okay, I posted it. Now, if anybody has any questions, we have a few minutes left. I want to make sure that if we do, we can get those questions answered for you. Got about 9 minutes or so. So if you do want to know something that maybe that was not mentioned, then go ahead and just add it in the comments for me, and I'll read it, and we'll get your question answered. But I want to say this ahead of time. Thank you again so much. I feel like I've learned a whole lot more, gotten a whole lot more insight on what you do and how you, because what you did tonight was minister to us on how to get that book out.
Yes.
And that's what people do. There's a calling. Like you said, you have a calling for it. So tonight I consider this to be a sermon on how to get
it. Yeah, absolutely. And I just encourage everyone to be themselves. Like, once I was able to be myself, wear my red hair, wear my glasses, and people just meet the real me. I didn't have to be under corporate dress code. I was able to be just who I was born to be. And so this is a time where you can just introduce the world to you. Don't try to be like nobody else. Bring your special sauce to the table, because that's what the anointing is on. Your special sauce, your uniqueness. What people call weird is really not weird. That's your unique factor, and that's what's going to make you stand out in the marketplace.
Okay. Well, one question, and it is from Latanya. She said, what tips do you have for creating a readers club?
A readers club. I like that. I would say connect with an influencer. And Push, we talk about the macro influencer and the micro influencer. So sometimes we think an influencer have to have 100 plus followers, but actually an influencer can have 50,000 followers. I consider Latanya Bynum to be an influencer. And so you want to just connect with someone who is in alignment with that goal of starting a readers book club. And then you just want to post it and invite people and say, hey, I'm starting a readers club. Would you like to be interested? And you'll be amazed how many people they want to read with others, but no one just haven't put out the invitation. And so that's what I would say. Just connect with an influencer so you can get more people to join, because the Facebook groups are becoming very trendy, and they also now are becoming very lucrative. I once paid $100 to be a part of a Facebook group. Wow. Now that was for the lifetime, but that was the future. I did not realize that was the future of it, but now it is. where people are actually paying to be a part of Facebook groups. And so I say go forward and monetize on it. It's all about being creative now because everything is remote.
All right, amen. Okay, Karina wants to know what is the best strategy to sell if you publish back to back?
If you publish back to back, the best strategy is to time it, right? So we have Black Friday coming up. You want to make sure that you monetize on promotions. You want to also make sure that you monetize on events that's happening. So I know that when we're in our creative stage, you're going to get a whole bunch of downloads because now you just open for all the creativity, but you want to give your niche market time to embrace the first book. And so I would just say time it, maybe 2 to 3 books in a year, but anything over that, you're kind of like force feeding. So try to get as much as you can out of your first book before you introduce your second book. Or that second book, it may be done already, but save it. So for Black Friday, you can do a bundle. You don't want to give away everything at one time. You want to give it in increments. And that way it just seems like that you are a production line. But if you give it all away in 1 week or 1 month, then it's kind of like you lose the wow factor. So give it to them in drops.
All right, Karina, I hope that answered your question. That was a good answer. Okay. Latanya's over here in my comments being creative and stuff, talking about turning the show transcripts into a book. We're going to talk about that. Since you brought it up, I never thought about it. Oh, also, do you mind posting your contact information? And just in case somebody wants to take you up on the pandemic book package. I think I'm saying it right.
Yes.
Make sure that you post your information.
Absolutely. They can visit us at sophisticatedpress.com. And I'm going to put my Linktree link in the comments I just did. And once they click on that, they'll see the link to make an appointment with me for a discovery call. Karina actually signed up for a discovery call. And when she did that, within 60 days, she had a book as well. And so I'm telling you, the discovery call is $50, but that investment, you're going to get a business model and marketplace strategies to dominate in the marketplace as an author. So just remember, you can't get a return of investment without having an investment. So create a budget for opportunity and create a budget for self-development.
Okay. Well, ma'am, one more time, let me just say thank you. I appreciate you being on tonight. Wonderful.
Thank you.
Beautiful. I like what you had on. You look good. And I like red too.
Yes, we're in the Red Hair Club.
Let's have me to read that. But thank you so much. I appreciate you. I enjoyed the conversation. The information was awesome. And I hope that everybody listening and watching will get in contact with you. Please go to our website. It is sophisticatedpress.com. Read the comments, y'all. Read the comments. Contact information is in the comment. But again, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And thank you. Well worth it. Very good information. So make sure that you come back again. And we'll do this again closer to Christmas, because now I'm curious as to who's going to get books out next. So maybe you can bring an author with you, or have another author on that came through your program and got their book out.
That would be wonderful.
Yeah, because I definitely want to hear what their experience was and how they got through it. So thank you so much again. Thank you, Miss Latanya, because I think that's how I got connected to you.
Yes, thank you, Latanya.
So much. And y'all, that was a great show. I appreciate you all tuning in and staying with us tonight. Just know that you can always view the videos after the show. They're on my page. If you'll go to Facebook at the Ladies Lounge one below, you can watch all of the videos. There's several of them on different shows. But I want you, particularly if you are interested in getting your book out and you want to get it out in the next 60 days, you better call Renetta Gunn-Stevens.
Yes.
Call Sophisticated Press or get on their website and get the information. But link up with her so she can help you write one of those amazing books that I know that's in you. And I think I'll be calling her also. So we're going to all be just here writing books here. But ma'am, thank you again. Thank y'all for tuning in. Thank you, Latanya. We're gonna
Thank you, Wanda.
You're welcome so much. All right, y'all. We're gonna call it a night. Might be able to get a couple of minutes of the Democrat National Convention in. So y'all have a good night. I thank you again, Miss Renetta. Appreciate you. And God
All
bless
right.
on your mission. All right. Good night.
Good night.